speed reading people cues. That is really amazing to be able to use that and to be able to understand quickly how you can build rapport and actually do things better together. So please check out some of the resources on aimabove.com.
Now, you are very positive in your approach, and you're very excited about how you work with people. But what happens when you get your worst nightmare? I mean, you've had to have had people in a retreat that were people you would just as soon never have shown up. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with somebody like that?
Great question, and I haven't had too many of those, and when I do get them, I really try to understand them. And if they do have an issue that doesn't belong on the agenda, I always have a parking lot sheet. So if in fact something is a great idea and I don't want to lose it, I want to acknowledge the idea, but we're going to put it in the parking lot so that we can move forward. In most cases, people are positive, we set the stage, and they work with us, and so often we actually end up early, getting done early, because people are right there with us and they're so engaged and involved and committed to the particular vision of that group.
So where do you see Aim Above in 5 years from now, Linda?
Oh, great question. We want to touch more people across the country and the world if we can. So since I am internationally certified in Lumina Learning, which is next generation psychometrics that is absolutely changing how we'll deal with people in the future, we can go anywhere. But I do see having a group of people that are touching more lives, and people are actually finding ways to have less stress in their life because they understand themselves and they understand the people they're working with, so they can actually build a relationship and create results.
Now, you are a very successful businesswoman, and you are married, and you have kids, and you also like to sail. You met your husband, I guess, racing sailboats, right?
We did.
So what are some of the tips that you have for our listeners who say, well, how do you combine a successful business, marriage, raising children? What are some of the obstacles or roadblocks that you faced along the way?
Oh, great question. So time management and taking care of yourself, I think, are huge. And also just being curious, learning more, finding out where you can work smarter to actually get things done. So we're very fortunate, very blessed to have a wonderful family, and they are doing fabulous. All three of our sons were Eagle Scouts on the same day, made national history. And
all
they're now
three of them different and different ages?
They were different ages, all on the same day. And then they are all engineers. We're very proud of them. And they are now married, and we have 5 grandchildren, so we're very pleased. Things are going well. But my husband and I did meet racing sailboats as teenagers. My boat was faster than his, but I was in a faster boat. He's a better sailor. I'll admit that any day. But we do have a sailboat today. We're still sailing, and we have twin wheels. So his wheel and my wheel, we both get to steer.
I think it's amazing, though, that your boys all became Eagle Scouts on the same day, especially being different ages, because they must have started scouting at different times.
They did, but what a joy. And that's the best thing we can do is investing in our children, is to give them those independent skills, and scouting does a great job of that.
All right, so I have a question for you, because many of our women who listen to us believe, and this is a belief, that as a strong woman and as a strong businesswoman, it is impossible to have a good relationship with a man, because they aren't in control, and they don't want to share the glory with a spouse. And I think, because I had a wonderful husband, I think it's possible to do. So what are some of the things that you and your husband had to work through so that you appreciated each other and gave each other space?
Well, we're really fortunate this year to be celebrating 40 years of marriage, so we are very blessed and feeling very, very lucky with that. We are total opposites. So talking about opposites attract, I think it does. And so when we did our Lumina portraits, I was just shocked, because he is exact opposite of me. And I thought, doggone it, I thought I taught you better people skills, but obviously not. And it's really neat. So Every issue that we have, we look at it from a different side. So he says black, I say white. But because I understand where he's coming from, I don't take it personally, and he understands where I'm coming from. And by listening to each other and being able to see the best of both, we really come up with a great solution. So give and take.
Well, I think that's important. And one of the reasons I brought it up is because there are still so many people who want to go into business but don't know how to combine both sides of their life. And I agree with you. My husband, we're complete opposites. Again, black and white. I mean, if I voted for one for president, he canceled me out because he voted for the other one. So it was always like that. But what you said is very important. It's listening to each other and being able to communicate. And those same skills that you bring into your business, listening and working with your team, are the same skills that you bring in at home. You might do it a little differently, but your team is your family. So if you work with your spouse or you work with your partner, you work with your kids, everybody is going to understand and is going to be able to work out a better situation. But the whole thing is that they have to be willing to communicate, and they have to be willing to sit down and listen. And it's a funny thing because I was talking to my son the other day, and I said, there was something, and he's not here, so we were doing this long distance, and he happened to call me, and I said, well, there was something that I wanted to talk to you about, but you never really listened to me. I said, you're always in a hurry. And so he said, Mom, I'm listening now. And so we had a good conversation, but sometimes I think you have to call their attention to something. Well, let's find out exactly how people can get in touch with you. Let's give your website again.
My website is aimabove.com, and you're welcome to call me as well at 727-258-8844. I'm delighted to talk with any of you as you're working forward in your business and your dreams to accomplish more.
Wonderful. And let me also say, is there any advice that you would like to give our listeners that we haven't talked about or haven't mentioned?
One comment that I got in a Christmas card last year was from a PhD client I had a year ago who said to me, thank you so much for the gift of self-awareness. It is the gift that keeps on giving. And I saw her the other day, and I said, thank you so much. That made such a difference in my life. I really appreciate your comment. She said, I have my portrait, my Lumina Spark portrait, which is 40-page report, right next to my seat every day. And I am looking at it. I'm referring to it. When I get into a situation with a student or another professor I don't know how to handle, I go and I look for how I should actually deal with that person and how we can actually move forward better. So to me, that's huge.
Well, that's so important because we need to say this, and I think you'll agree with me here. You do not change anybody. The only person who can change anybody is themselves. So it's up to you, it's up to me to do what we need to do to get along with the other person and perhaps provide an environment with which they would want to change. But in reality, whether they change or not is on them. It's not on us. We have to figure out how to work with them, how to deal with them, and how to be with them.
That's so important. That's why I really like the idea of being able to see more about myself and others, be able to adapt so that we're successful in communicating and actually achieve more. So it's, again, understanding, adapting, and connecting for success.
Well, my guest has been Linda Seefeldt. She is the CEO and Growth Facilitator at AIM. That's AIM above.com. And she said she'd love to hear from any of you, so feel free to be in touch with her, see what her Lumina is all about, finding out what your particular, shall we say, tendencies and peculiarities are. And I know that she will do a great job with you if you decide to bring her into your company. So again, thanks for being with us today, and I'm just going to say a fast goodbye and a thank you to Linda.
Thank you, Gail. It was my pleasure.